Well, thank you both very much for putting all of this together. Thank you for gathering this information. I'm really looking forward to what ensues coming up. So, Tanya, tell me, how did you get started in coaching?
So that's a great question. I actually have worked in maternal child health for 31 years, and most of that is around families, helping families who are pregnant and who have young children. I found that when I was working with young families, there were a multitude of issues that would often come up for them. And many times they were calling me and asking them to coach them, even though my role was originally defined around helping them with the birth of their baby. But the birth of the baby made a huge difference in their lives and their relationships were changing. So I started spontaneously offering them coaching. And that's how I got started in this.
Wonderful. Thank you. Steve, how did you get wrapped up in all of this?
Well, long story. I grew up thinking I would be a psychiatrist, and got derailed along the way. Gladly, I became a trader at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. When I sold my seat, wanted to get back into the role of giving back and connecting with people, and having people be the best versions of themselves is really my motivation. And been doing it for 15 years, and couples and helping them communicate better, living a dream rather than just getting through is what I'm about.
Interesting. Thank you. So, why did the two of you start offering this service together?
When I met Steve, I thought that his expertise as a coach would be a really good connection with what I wanted to do more of. I attended births for over 31 years, and I was getting ready to exit that field in terms of not wanting to take call, but still be involved with families. So Steve told me about the workshops that he was already doing, and I thought that the material that he had was really pertinent to my couples, and that's when I we decided to start working together last spring. It's been a great collaboration.
Great. Thank you very much. Um, so, what do parents with kids struggle with the most? How do you see it? Either of you.
Control.
Uh,
Probably control is one of the biggest issues in terms of the feeling of the need to control their children, their lives, the feeling that they're careening out of control now that one more element has entered their life, probably in a way that they hadn't felt it before when they were just a couple.
hmm. Steve, what's your spin on it?
When we go from the one dimensional, this is a person I want to be in relationship with, to starting a family, there are so many different layers that we look at our partner with that we didn't do previously. A lot of it has to do with subconscious things related to our own childhood, expectations of what a family looks like, how a mom should be, how a dad should be, how I should show up. And there's a lot of projecting and expectations which gets in the way. So learning how to communicate in reality rather than a dream world is really what we're about. Instead of feeling isolated and then becoming resentful and frustrated at what isn't talked about, having couples talk about anything and everything because they feel secure within themselves.
Hmm.
So we teach self-awareness, and what's the best version of myself that I can be, and how do I bring that to this relationship? Because I love the person I'm with. I want them to know the real me.
Great answers, both of you. Thank you very much. So, I've heard both of you use the terms wound and trigger. So, I kind of have a sense of what that is. What do you define a wound and a trigger as?
Trigger is an emotional charge. we have many different feelings that we express in different ways, but really there are only four base ones: happy, sad, anger, and fear. Those are survival. We learn them because we're human. It's ingrained, it's in the limbic system. Fear is fight or flight. So the triggers are any emotional charge that one has that leads to energy that needs to be displayed in a certain way. Or we can withhold it, which requires energy also. But it's a charge.
Yeah, and a wound is what I would define as a wound is the area where we initially started making adaptations to our parents' perspective. And at that point, we probably started to need to play a role. So we go back to those roles whenever our partners mimic situations that our parents gave us. Maybe you want to define that better.
No, I think that's perfect. The adaptation and doing what needs to be done in the moment is much different than living in reality later. The description of why we're feeling what one is feeling, what I might be feeling, we often think is due to the last 30 seconds, when most of the time it's related to things way in our past that we're not even aware of. So the adaptation to the wound is perfect in describing what goes on.
Great, thank you. I know both of you have talked with a lot of couples before, and will continue to do so. In all of that, what have you found to be a typical problem that relationships go through, if there is such a thing?
Right, yeah. We had a couple just recently that had a 1-year-old. First time we were talking with them, we were doing a Skype session, and both of them are beaming, bright smiles, holding their 1-year-old. And we asked, how are you doing? And the husband chirped in right away and said, I am the luckiest guy in the world. I'm married to a beautiful wife, have a child. I couldn't be any happier. And the wife said the same thing, that life is great. So we asked them what was obvious, so why did you make this appointment? And what came out was that the husband described the last argument, which was really fairly typical. He came home one day after just minutes before feeling like he couldn't wait to get home, see his wife, see his daughter. And he shows up and opens the door and realizes that he's hungry and dinner's not ready. And immediately he has this sinking feeling of something's not right. I'm hungry and dinner's not ready. And projects that, okay? There's something wrong. He then tells his wife he's going to change clothes, come out, and walks through his place, gets to where he is, and he realizes that the place isn't clean either. And now he's angry. He's sad that what he thought was beautiful and understood in terms of his relationship with his wife has nothing to do with the person who half an hour before was thrilled at being in the life that he was in. And what came across to the wife was, when we asked, do you think that was on your face when you came out of the room, when you had changed? And he said, I'm sure it was. And we asked, all right, so what were you angry about? And he said, I expect dinner and I expect a clean house, and that's not the way that it was. And I said, so what's the message you're giving your wife? And he said, probably that I'm disappointed. I'm not happy. So we asked her, what was your experience? And she said, I noticed right away he went from very happy walking in the door to something else, which obviously wasn't what I expected. And I thought, I'm failing in some way, that there's something wrong with me. And if I continue with that, then I don't know about the relationship. So I said, so what was your feeling? And she said, fear. I didn't know, what would happen to us because everything's perfect. And what we went into was, is there a way for the two of you to own the perfection and then deal with how you feel by explaining that, but making the big picture, I love you, can't tell you how happy I am to be here, and then deal with the other stuff as almost trivia. It's just stuff. And we have feelings around it, but feelings don't kill us. All right. We can be very happy at work thinking about it. We can be sad. We can be angry and fearful and survive it all.
And I just want to bring out in that example, there's a couple of important things. One was that the male partner, walked in initially feeling happy and immediately confronted his projections. So his projections were, life should look like this. He wasn't aware that he had those projections until he walked in the door and found that life was not looking the way that he had it in his head. Where did he get that idea? He learned it when he was a child. He absorbed that's how a mother should be. That's how a wife should be. So he immediately walks in and starts going into his projection about, this is what I expect. And he loses touch with his emotion that he's really happy to have a wife and a daughter. So in that example, what both of them were dealing with were each other's projections. Of the wife was saying, I need to be doing these things in addition to being a student and being a mother. I should have dinner ready, or the house should be cleaned up because I'm not living up to his expectations. But these really have nothing to do with the connection between two people. This is about what they're projecting on each other.
Thank you very much. I know that all of us in relationship can identify with some points of all of that. So Tanya, while we're on you, are there any other factors that would influence a couple's relationship?
Yes, absolutely. I think that some of the biggest factors that influence a relationship are actually hormonal patterns. It's something that we rarely talk about, but I'll just go into a little bit about how hormones influence our experience of each other. Women actually run off a hormone called oxytocin. And oxytocin is available, there's receptor sites in both men and women, but women have more receptor sites. And essentially, they have a supply of oxytocin that they use up throughout the day through acts of giving. So if we're talking a mother here, when her child interacts with her, every time she's interacting with her child and giving her child something, she's using her oxytocin. Men run off testosterone, and it is a problem solution hormone. So a problem is confronted, in a typical situation, you're at work, you have these set of problems, and you solve them. So we run through those supplies, and then we're in a state of depletion with oxytocin and testosterone at the end of the day. In order for a woman to regain her oxytocin supply, she needs to talk about her experience. Now that's different from having something solved, because really what she wants is she just wants to be heard. So she wants to be able to tell a story about her experience. That act of being heard is what is going to replenish her oxytocin supply. Her partner, on the other hand, in a day where he has been doing problem solution orientation throughout the day and is at a depleted testosterone state, then needs to replenish his testosterone by literally removing himself from going to the man cave and not interacting at all. So there's a huge contradiction biologically between what men and women need. And unless you know that, that is something that makes life a lot harder, because you might be asking for something from your partner that they can't give in the moment. We did a session recently with a couple, and I brought this up at the end, and the partner said, this is the most important piece of information I learned in this entire thing about the importance of of what is really going on here with my need to remove myself and her need to talk about her day. But that's what's driving us hormonally. Now, when a child enters the picture, there's also another hormonal pattern that I'm going to talk about in a bit. But that basic pattern with oxytocin and testosterone, if we understood it better, we may be able to give each other what we want and what we need, having that understanding.
And this is a perfect segue into what I noticed in relationships that I've been working with for a long time. I did a radio show in December of 2012 and was asked, what's the biggest tip you could give a couple in terms of staying related? And it was not a question that I anticipated, but my answer was, we need to be more selfish in terms of expressing what we want. And it's not selfish from the idea of I want something in taking something from you. It's that couples where unilaterally they will say, I want to make so-and-so happy, have removed themselves from the equation. That we need to understand what we need ourselves, because the only constant is change. If we can't describe that, if we can't ask for what we want, then we're mind reading, we're dancing around a problem, but we're never being authentic. And worrying about what it is that's bothering us keeps the relationship at a distance. We're withholding. So in order to bridge that gap, one has to be able to own one's own feelings, talk about one's experience, and then asking for what one wants. So happy, sad, anger, and fear are the feelings, what that might be about in the moment, and then saying, hon, this is how you can support me when I feel this way. And by doing that, we are recalibrating, we're on the same page, and the most important thing is this is what leads to intimacy through conflict. Instead of fighting and having a cyclical argument that never goes anywhere, you can resolve things. You're dealing in the moment, and there's a real connection because you're being vulnerable. All right, I feel sad. All right, I want something. By then saying, here is how you can support me, and you're the best person for it because I love you and we're together, you're being vulnerable, which leads to greater intimacy, and that's reality. That's what you really want. That's what the guy at home or at work who's thinking, I'm the luckiest guy in the world, that's what we want to do. We don't want to be able to hide things or say, that issue's too big for me, I don't want to talk about it. So addressing the exact issue at the core of whatever feeling it is will lead you to dancing better as a couple.
Great, thank you, great responses.
So we know that we're giving you a lot of content, and one of the ways that we decided that we would help you absorb this information is we're going to do a couple of role plays where you can see some of the more common patterns that we use around attacking, withdrawing, or defending. We often end up trying those things first when we're communicating, and then we'll do a replay of the role play where we use the principles that we're talking about in this webinar. So our first role play will be with a mom who's coming back with her 6-week postpartum visit with her baby. So we'll role play that out for you. You are so adorable, but I am so tired of being at home alone with you. I wish your dad would get here.
Hi, hon. How are you?
Where have you been? You said you would get home at 6:30. Do you know how? Here, take the baby. Could you put him? You have to support his head. Okay, listen. I've got to go to Target. I really can't. I got to get out of here. Can you help me?
Well, sure. I've been at work all day making money for us.
honey.
And can I relax for like 3 minutes? That would be great.
Okay, you know what? Could you bounce the baby a little? It's starting to cry. You've got to respond. You know what? I have been here since you left at 5 o'clock this morning. And I've been here by myself waiting all afternoon. And I can't take much more
This
of
is
being
what
alone.
we decided we want to have children. This is what
You're not
we have.
listening to me. I need your help. When I've been waiting, you're a half an hour late. And now, could you interact with him a little bit? He's looking at you.
Yes, hi. Yes, you're wonderful. You're
Listen,
beautiful.
I gotta go out to Target. I just have got to get out of here. Will you just take care of the baby?
I can't do anything right. I can't hold the baby right. I can't talk to him. All right.
You don't know how hard this job is. This is really, really hard. I need
So
your
what are you?
I need
so
your
what are you going to
support.
do? Right. I know. I'm here. I was at work. What do you want from me?
What do I want from you? I want you to be home when you said you were going to be home, and I want you to know how hard this is when you walk in the door. I just need you to take the baby, and I need you to hear. Do you even know what happened today at playgroup? This is like a major thing, and I called you, and they said you were away from your desk, and I tried you again.
You're attacking me, and all I'm doing is my best at everything that I'm doing.
I just don't think you get me anymore. You totally do not get me. This is like a full-time job. I don't get to go out for lunch.
I understand
okay?
it's a full-time job. I have one also.
But you don't have the level of intensity that I have. I need to leave when you come in so I can get out of here.
Here, you take the baby. I'm
Great,
not doing
great,
this right.
Great. I'm
We'll
sorry.
revisit
I'm sorry,
this later.
honey. So we're going to do a redo, avoiding some of the things that you saw us lapse into, where I was attacking my partner when he walked in the door and handing him off the baby and telling him he didn't understand my perspective. And those were some of the things that you saw illustrated, which are the things that we normally go to when we're having an argument. And now you can see the version that includes the way that you would integrate the principles we're talking about. I'm so tired. Oh, gosh. Where's your dad? Where's your dad?
Honey, I'm home.
Hi, honey. This is quite a day. How are you?
I'm okay. Just looking forward to seeing you and our son.
Okay, all right. Well, I really would like to talk to you about some of the things that happened today. Do you feel like you have a moment where you can just listen to me?
Of course.
Okay, great, because this was such a long day. I feel so sad. I feel so overwhelmed. I don't know that I can do this.
Do what? What is it that you're really feeling? What are you saying?
I just feel so isolated and alone. When I'm with him, I feel like I need more help, and I wish you were here.
I'm always here with you. You can call me. You can tell me how you feel during the day. You got the toughest job in the world.
Yeah, I do have the toughest job in the world, right?
Yes.
It's like my body is keeping him alive.
So let me hold the baby. Let me give you some time to do what you need to do.
You want to go to your dad? Come on.
Now, I'm tired myself, okay?
How was your day?
Yeah, well, it was stressful. So I've got fear about work and stuff, but this is the number one job for me. So I'm happy to be here, and everything else will work itself out.
I really appreciate that you're just here and listening to me. I just felt like I needed to check in with you and admit to someone how sometimes I feel like I'm failing at this.
You're doing a great job. Sometimes I feel a little bit on the defensive. I guess that's fear when you tell me I'm not doing things right. But as long as you tell me what it is you need, I'll do my best.
Yeah. I think I feel like I get into controlling positioning because I feel so out of control most of the time. And I think that's where that's coming from. But I just want you to know that I totally appreciate what you're doing for us. And it's really helpful for me if I can talk to you a couple times throughout the day.
Of course.
Okay. And I think maybe what I need is I need to schedule some more times with people outside of the home because this can be so isolating.
So when you say you feel out of control, what does that feel like? Is that,
Well, when he goes into these long crying episodes, I don't know how to calm him sometime. And I'm so tired.
so what do you tell yourself is going to happen if you can't calm him? He's a baby. He's going to cry.
It makes me feel really upset and nervous inside. Like I have to make it better.
Okay. Well, that's an old pattern. Okay. Yeah. Babies are going to cry. It's not. There's nothing wrong. You don't have to make it a responsibility of yours. But I hear where you feel you might be failing, but you're not. You're great, and he's fine. Look, you're both fine. You need some time. Go.
Really? Because I really just need a half an hour.
Wonderful.
And then I already have dinner in the fridge. We can just put it in the microwave. I could give you a half an hour if I could just get
That's
out
all
for a walk.
secondary.
Okay, great. Thanks. So in our last piece, Steve and I were illustrating a couple who were engaged in an argument that had components of defending, attacking, and you didn't see too much withdrawal, but attacking and defending. And we're going to do a redo of that with a change in the dynamic. So you can watch the same thing going on, but we're gonna have some different answers here. Oh my gosh, where is your dad? I am so...
Honey, I'm home.
Where have you been? I mean, you told me you'd be home at 6:30. I really don't get why you don't get how hard it is for me to wait an extra half an hour.
I was at work. You sound really angry.
I am really angry. I am really angry because I am just overwhelmed. I think I'm doing a crappy job as a mother.
You're doing a great job. What makes you say you're doing a
The baby
crappy
is
job?
crying. I can't comfort him.
All right, well, so
I'm here by myself.
Yeah. Okay.
Just could you support the head,
Yes.
please?
Yes. So what's going on? What are you telling yourself?
I'm telling myself that I can't do this. I'm not good at this.
Well, where's that coming from?
Because he's crying so much.
Well, he's a baby. He's gonna cry. Where did you learn you gotta make everything right for a baby that's crying?
It makes me feel really helpless to hear him crying.
Well, that's...
And I need more support than this. I don't think you understand that this is a really big job.
It's the biggest job. I gotcha. Yeah, you need time, and you're not going to have a lot of it. But by beating yourself up about this isn't going to help. You know, you're doing a great job, and this too shall pass. The baby will be all right. Look, he's fine. Hi.
Of course he's fine.
Yes,
I
right.
mean, I feel angry when I see him calm down when you come in the door because he's been crying for me on and off all afternoon.
We're on the same team here. You know, it's okay for you to take a break. We got to make money. That's why I go to work. But I'm going to come home and make it easy on yourself, not hard.
Okay, I want to talk to you about some things that I'm thinking about because I do hear myself telling myself a lot that I'm failing at this. Mm-hmm. I think I get really activated when I hear him crying and I can't get him to stop.
He'll stop. Okay, you're a great mother. You feed him. You're here for him. He's having the best experience a baby can have. This is just stuff that you're telling yourself. You know how your parents were. You know, this idea that you've got to be the savior for everything. It's not true. And babies are going to be babies no matter what you tell yourself.
Okay. All right.
So what you need to do, just communicate with me. It sounds like you're both sad and angry right now.
I am.
So what can I do to support you?
I need a half an hour just to be myself. I mean, I need to go and take a walk.
Great.
And
Go take a walk.
I know the house is a total mess, and
And there will be things that I need as well. All right. When you get back, I'd like to take a shower, like to just get out of the work day. All right.
okay.
And I'm going to do my best with the baby.
Okay.
And
All right.
you take your time. And
You know, I struggle a little bit with whether, like the idea that maybe I'm its mother, so I should be doing everything right for it. And then I find myself judging you sometimes.
I don't like to be judged, but that's okay. That's coming from you. All right. There are times that I might get defensive and afraid that I'm not doing a good enough job. But you can tell me when that's happening. And
Okay.
I'm going to do my best.
Well, I totally appreciate that you're helping us financially. I need you to hear from me that it's like a lot to take care of his needs all day long.
As long as we're on the same page, we'll be fine.
Okay.
Great.
That reassures me.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So, thank you very much, Steve, Tanya. Appreciate that. So, in your experience, tell me, what is one of the most important things a couple can do to change how they manage conflict?
You could take that one.
All right. Well, the biggest feeling is one that we've just exhibited. It's feeling out of control, feeling overwhelmed, feeling as if the children are now running our lives or something external to ourselves. Once that happens, we're already into our wounds. We're into an expectation of I'm not being good enough. So healing oneself, which actually is owning that I'm human. I'm perfect as I am, being imperfect. I'm going to have feelings. So the idea of at times I'm going to want to hit my kid is normal, okay? It's just an emotional charge that one has a reaction to, but it's just a thought, all right? Realizing that, okay, I'm doing the best I can. I've never been a parent before. Or even if I have, I'm reacting to a pattern that was taught to me that has nothing to do with my reality, all right? I love my child, want to be better. And all I need to do is be the best parent I can be, all right? Be the best role model by being a great parent instead of judging that I'm losing it and telling myself I don't know what to do, all right? You know what to do.
There's a couple of things that we see frequently when it comes to managing conflict. Conflict often comes about because what we're thinking in our head about our partner, it is not really based in truth. It's based in a projection. And if we can catch ourselves in those projections, then we can go back to just owning our feelings. We can say, this is what I'm feeling. And feelings are immutable. They are what they are. There's no right or wrong to them. And a lot of times we tell ourselves that it's not safe to admit how we feel. But when we are in a space where we're not safe to admit how we feel, then we tend to externalize our emotions by blaming our partner. So one of the things that you can do is just be okay with owning your feelings. Another thing that is instrumental in handling conflict is being able to just ask for what you want without compromise. Now, it doesn't mean that you won't make compromises, but you start from a place of this is what I want. And then you're identifying your feelings and asking for what you want. And from there, you go into negotiation.
Yeah. What's possible comes from admitting where you are.
Yeah.
And each person owning that and being able to discuss it removes you can either escalate when you're upset, when you're triggered, or you can go back to reality, which is I'm dealing with one person one on one. Doesn't matter what happened in the past, it's a matter of being on the same page right now and not telling ourselves how the other person is going to react. If they got angry because you talked about money or sex or any question in the past, that doesn't matter. It's what's going on right now. And invite your partner to do the same thing. That is reality, and that's being authentic, vulnerable, and lovable. Totally different than I think you're wrong because you're having an experience that I can't identify with. That leads to cyclical codependency, and it just goes on forever. Nothing gets resolved, and we end up becoming more resentful and frustrated rather than in the moment with what's real.
Wow, this is great. Thank you very much. I know I'm getting a lot out of this. So just to continue on with this, what would you say is, if you happen to have a list of takeaways for any of the couples that might be watching, and just ways to communicate in a better way?
I would say that the biggest piece that anybody can use to learn from is self-awareness. All right, why we are triggered, where that comes from, and we talked a little bit about wounds before. We all have events in our lives that we would like differently. We didn't like the way they went when we were 2 or 3 years old. And then as we get older, we keep judging it, and we judge it over and over again. And what happens is we become more disengaged with the truth, which was we needed to survive something in the past. In being able to survive it, we took on, as Tanya mentioned before, we adjust. We find out a way to survive, but that's not what's going on with our partner in the moment. What's going on with our partner right now is we're not being attacked. We don't need to feel afraid of something that occurred before. It's not replaying. We're not going to die, all right? So instead of acting as if I can't talk about this is too big, all right? Explaining learning where that wound comes from and being able to articulate that and saying, this is what I need help with, and being able to explain that, growing through self-awareness, because we all have triggers, and in an idealized relationship, we just want to feel safe there. That's the idea. So there's nothing wrong with being wounded. It's trying to deny that and self-soothing through taking on addictions or whatever else is where we get off track.
As far as our takeaways, I think the first takeaway is own your feelings. The easiest way for you to identify what your feelings are is to break them into 4 basic emotions: happy, sad, angry, and fearful. And find out where you are and own it. And then the second thing is to share that with your partner. And at the same time that you're sharing your emotion, understand that you're not needing to project.
Right.
So
talk about it loses its power. That once it's out there, it's not
Right.
that big a deal.
Okay, so emotions are just transient experiences, and once they're admitted, they have far less power than if we're sitting on our emotions. Because as we sit on our emotions, then we add meaning to why we're having that emotion, and they're just growing out of control. So owning them, knowing they're just this transient experience, and you don't need to build a story off of that emotion.
Okay, thank you. So, Tanya or Steve, do either of you have any other topics that you think might be missing or would be well to include?
Yes, absolutely. I think a big topic for couples that we're working with is how their sexual relationship changes after they had kids. There's a hormonal pattern associated with the changes, and really, when we look at evolutionary biology in this context, our offspring need us to invest in them. So they're very immature. Babies are very immature at birth, and the problem with that is that they need constant attention. If they're breastfeeding, they need food like 8 to 12 times a day, which is about every 2 to 3 hours. And so the mother is suddenly hormonally invested more in the offspring than she is in the partnership, because from the evolutionary biological perspective, she needs to keep the offspring alive until it can function on its own. So there's a reason why we fall in love with our children. So this baby is taking up a lot of time, a lot of emotions are being invested. And in addition to that, there's a balance that's happening with what's going on with breastfeeding, which is hormonally right after the birth, her high levels of estrogen and progesterone drop dramatically to pre-birth. She's no longer in a menstrual cycle after the birth. She's basically has hormonal levels that are much lower than pre-birth levels. So typically we're most attracted to each other at when a woman is ovulating. So that is when a woman shines. That's actually once again, that biological impulse to have sex for a woman is strongest during ovulation. But she's not in an ovulatory cycle after birth for several months. She is having high levels of oxytocin and prolactin throughout the day, which is keeping her attention on feeding the baby. And at times she may be feeling quite touched out by chronically having a baby on her skin. And a baby that is feeding from her breast also evokes the feeling of, this is now a working relationship to my breast. My breasts are no longer recreational, so please don't touch them. So many women that are going through this stage in the first year after the baby is born are feeling like, really, as my partner, I have no interest whatsoever in having sex. And there's a lot that goes into that, in addition to the fact that she's got a primary relationship now with the baby. She's also probably feeling some body image changes as well, and maybe judging herself around that as well. And the partner is often asking, where is us? How do we get back to us? Because now that the baby is out, I'm really hoping that we can be us again. So that's one of the central dilemmas that couples work through. And this is one of those issues that communication and patience and some creativity can help a lot. So one of the things in terms of working through this is understanding that there's a major shift in the hormonal pattern a woman feels when she's breastfeeding. Without an ovulatory cycle, she's not going to have the natural peak in sexual interest followed by a waning experience. It's more consistent throughout breastfeeding. Plus, she has a baby's body against her body all day long. So the feeling of getting acknowledged from her partner through touch is probably not too high on her priority list.
And I think explaining that to the husband, because he's going to be totally unaware of this,
Right.
is really important.
Yes. So an understanding of how these patterns work is really important, and then listening to each other's needs and seeing how one's needs can be met. Because what the partner needs is a feeling of, we're still in it together. There's still here an us here. And the pregnant woman needs to understand that, too many years with working with pregnant women. The woman who's just had a baby needs to understand that she's biologically programmed to favor her infant until that baby reaches maturity. But there is a choice in partnership. When in the first year or so after the birth, the choice in partnership is saying, I'm still aware of you. I still care about you. Let's spend some time investing in the two of us as well. And that may not look anything like it used to look. So what we start dealing with is how expectations get met around sexual needs in the first year or so after babies come. We're going to illustrate a way for partners to communicate around the issue of the return to having sex and how those perspectives might change after the baby comes and ways in which to still stay connected. Okay, all right. Hi.
Hi, how did the visit with the doctor go?
Fine. What are you really asking?
What did you talk about? What was on the agenda?
Oh, she looked at my perineum and she asked me about bleeding and she asked me what we were going to use for birth control and I told her I never wanted to have sex again. Well, I mean,
Well, that's not great news.
okay, but honey, I'm so touched out. I'm just really, I'm feeding this baby 8 times a day and I just don't have any desire right now.
Well, I understand you're touched out, but if we weren't in love and married, this never would have happened. And to tell you the truth, I'm kind of angry that all of your attention is on little Sam here. And, I don't know when we get back together.
He's a baby and they're so immature.
And I'm a big baby.
I know, and I wish you'd grow up because this is a really difficult thing for me. I know I used to love sex, but I just am not feeling it right now.
Okay.
I think I'm not feeling it because I have to do this 8 times a day and breastfeeding is just taking all of my energy. So I hear you. I hear that you want us to be a couple again. But I need you to understand that, to just go into sex. I have no interest in having intercourse. It's just not something I want to do.
Okay.
And my body just doesn't look or feel the same to me.
All right,
I feel gross.
All right. So what I think maybe we need to do is, instead of you being in a 24-hour mode, all right, that I can help you get some more sleep. I can
If
make
I could
it,
have more sleep, that would be great.
Yeah, there are things that I can do in terms of time where you can get back to being the you that you were before being a mother. You'll always be a mother and you're great at that, and that's really important. But for us, I think it's important to get back to touching each other. I'd really like that.
Okay, I just want you to hear me that it's not something I'm wanting, but I hear it's something you're needing. So I hear that sometimes you feel like you need to touch me.
Do you feel it's important for us in terms of even both of us bringing up the baby?
I do. It's just I never thought I would have these emotions. I know it's upsetting to you, or I think it might be upsetting to you, but it's something that I can't explain. I'm so totally in love with this baby.
I want you, that's great. And I don't want that to change. I just want us to feel like we're in love as well.
Okay.
That's
well,
it. So
I
tell
hear
me
you.
tell me what I can do to make you feel more loving, or that it'll be a process, but that's okay. We'll get there.
You know what would really help me? I know this is going to sound totally ridiculous, but I feel overwhelmed with my workload, with the baby, the house, and my job. If you could just take on doing dinner twice a week and if you could just put things in the dishwasher, and pick up your clothes and put them in the hamper and maybe put a load of laundry. I know this sounds like...
That would be great. That sounds
Really?
wonderful.
Because, if you could do those things, I think I might feel more interested in being with you.
Just-
I just
just keep
feel
telling
like
me
I'm
what you want.
chronically looking, it's like my mind can't shut off to be with you.
Fine.
So I need some of this taken off of my plate.
I'll do what I need to do. You keep telling me what you want me to do.
Okay. All right. So you think you can do that? Because that would be like
If
porn
you want,
to me.
write it right.
Like if you could clean.
Good. All right. Then I'll wear a skirt too and clean up the dishes.
I don't
Whatever,
usually
or,
wear a
or whatever it is that will really turn you on. Great. Wonderful.
No, but what it would do is it would just help me turn off like all of the list somewhat. And I do want to be with you. I really do. I
got it.
I know you have needs, honey. So, and I want you to be invested in our marriage. And I just have to be honest with you that my feelings about us are not matching the way I used to be. So I'm trying to sort it out because I totally love you and adore you. And I'm so grateful that you're going out and taking care of our family so I can do this and having these weeks.
I got it.
Okay.
Just tell me what you want. That's fine.
Okay. All right.
Right.
I think that might be something like that would be really useful.
You got it.
Okay, great.
Is there anything that you'd like to leave those people who are listening and watching with? Something to take with them in a way of a way of closure?
Yeah. Well, in pertaining to the physical relationship and the importance of the physical relationship, when you're overtired, when a lot goes on and your total focus is on the baby, as a woman, it can be very easy to say, this is more important than that. But in order for you to regain your balance in the relationship, it's important to be honest with your feelings, to say where each of you are at, and to be in a place where you can look for where you can give the other person what you want. One of the things that I sometimes see happening with women after they have children is they start to say, my husband is useless around this. And when we did our vignette about what do I need and how I needed the house picked up in order for me to feel like I can be close to you, that's part of women's diffuse awareness that, if we evolved from gatherers, if women evolve from gatherers and men evolve from hunters, then we have more diffuse awareness of everything that needs to get done, and babies contribute to that. So what you want to remember is understand the biological pieces that are playing out. That there is biologically an investment on the woman's part in survival for the baby, but the invitation to partnership is to listen to your partner's needs and to work toward giving each other what you would like. Do you have anything to add?
Sure. Yes. What I see most often is women are the ones that want to talk about stuff and feel stuff very intimately. They feel all of the emotions constantly. Men don't have that as a knowledge or backdrop nearly as intimately. They're either happy or they're not. And if they're happy, which is a relative term, but if they're happy enough, they don't want to be thrown into fear. They don't want to know what is possibly going wrong because in general, they feel safe. That's not going to work in the long term. That men have to sometimes be hit over the head with things are not the way I want them to be. And in my world, as a coach, I look at families where the children are the most important. What does the children experience from watching their parents? Having everything open where feelings are wished for, all right? That if you want to know how your partner is actually feeling, women sometimes have to say, this is really troubling me. This is a fear of mine. And guys get that. when the woman says this is what's going on, this is what's real for me, and that connection to be the best for our children and for ourselves comes from feeling safe discussing everything. And that's where we're meeting a need. Couples don't talk authentically about what is really going on so that they don't grow, they're not vulnerable. They just go along with this idea of, all right, it's good enough. All right, well, life also ends with it not being quite good enough also. Make it great. Make it great for your kids, make it great for yourselves as individuals, and we can help you do that.
So we want you to know that you can reach us for 2-on-2 coaching. We're offering services to couples that are going through these types of issues that we talked about. And you can reach us at our website, our email, which is relationshipcoaches2@gmail.com, or through our phone numbers. We also do have more content coming up through some videos, and we'd love you to watch those too. But feel free to contact us to talk about coaching with us. We do offer a free coaching session at the initiation of working with us to see if it's a good fit. We'd love to hear from you.